We have a lovely guest with us. We'll let her introduce herself kwa wale watu hawamjui, which I think is a small percentage. And as you can see on our screens, you'll also see what we'll be discussing today. But before we go on, let's let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Sherry, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm Janet Mbugua. I'm a media personality. I was a news anchor for 10 years, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing anything in the media. I love it. I'm also the founder of Iwadata Foundation, which looks at addressing menstrual health and other social justice issues affecting especially women, but including men in the conversation, and the author of a book called My First Time, which is all about menstrual health and periods and how we all need to get comfortable talking about periods, and mom to two beautiful boys.
Okay, so first of all, I'm so sure so many people wangetaka kujua what prompted your move from now the screens. Yeah, nini ilifanyika?
I think it was the right time. I had done it for 10 years straight by the time I left in 2017. I wanted to take a step back. There were many other issues, but if I'm talking about career-wise, I wanted to take some time to focus on my foundation. It was my passion. I started it in 2014. And in as much as other things in my career were going well, MC, moderating, and other hosting events, I just felt like this is something I'm so passionate about and it needs my 100%. So I took a step back. I started doing a lot of the other things I've mentioned, moderating, MCing, public engagements, etc. Then I also said, I now need to focus on my foundation. And I mean, I thank God because now that's what I'm doing full time. Yeah.
And did that change in maybe relationships that you had? Are there people who maybe pulled back kidogo, or are there people you had to also cut off a bit of communication because you're not in that line anymore?
That's a good question. I think in every new transition in your life, you win and lose people in your life. Sometimes it's for a good reason, sometimes it's for a season, sometimes it's for good.
Yeah.
So yes, when I think back, there's a few people who didn't understand that now that I'm a mom. First of all, I was also a mom to a 1-year-old at the time, and I really wanted to give him attention. So being a parent, some people don't understand, but also trying to progress in your career, you're more busier, you're more invested, you're more focused. Some people don't get that, but other people come into your life too to work with you. So yeah, there was shifts in and out of my life, relationships changed, but in everything it's a lesson, so I don't really mind.
Speaking of lessons, is there something that you learned after now you took the step back? And is there anything that you wish that somebody told you even before you got into media?
What do I wish somebody told me before I got into media? I feel like, and I've shared this before, in 2007, when I got my first gig on TV, and I got the call that I had the show, Out and About, a travel show. And I was so excited, and I was telling my mom, oh my gosh, I got this show. Before she even told me congratulations, immediately she said, okay, so now you have to remember to be careful. People out there won't treat you right. You have to remain the same, remain humble. You're going to lose friends. You're going to... She just went into this whole thing. I'm like, okay, mom, so you just tell me congrats. But I thank God every day that she said that because it prepared me. So what do I wish I knew? I feel like I was... You know, you always wish you knew more about the space, the politics, the different ways it treats people. But I think I was prepared in a way. I think I was prepared because of that pep talk she gave me in like 20 seconds. It prepared me for the industry, and in a way it prepared me for life.
Yeah.
I was young though. I was very young. I was in my 20s. So a lot of it I also had to learn on my own. You're taken advantage of, you know, people play you for a fool.
Yeah.
But honestly, Sherry, for me, everything is a lesson. So I don't look at it as a regret. Yeah.
Okay. And now I have a challenge for you. Because tumezoea kusikia na kizungu.
I knew
which I feel
Kiswahili. I do.
Lakini unajua tushakuzoea na kizungu na tunafilika ushashikilia hapo.
Ningeanza kusoma news in Swahili ndio.
Ndo tuonge kizungu sasa tushangae wow. Kizungu yake ni noma. Tuambie kwanza juu ile mate yenye ulikuwa una drive. Kwanza ulikuwa mko wapi huko na mlifika mpaka wapi?
Nilikuwa Mathare. Where was I going? I'm not sure. We were doing a story about the community. I know Sherry's like, urudi, uonge Kiswahili. I speak Swa very, very well. But
Show
I know
us.
people, I've shown you.
Show us.
I've shown you more. It will come in and out. Let me put it that
Hi,
way. But I had fun. I had a lot of fun driving that much. The second one I've done. The first one I was pregnant with my second born. I did it on my YouTube channel. It was a pink mat. So I said I have to drive it. So this was the second one. We were doing a story, and he said sawa, and I did. I drove it a little bit, and then that was it.
Okay, but on the fun side, tell us about pia your role kwa Monica. Kwanza audition? Did you audition? Ama uliitwa? Uliitwa.
But I auditioned for the first one. Pendo, Rush. I did it in 2013. I auditioned for that one. I'd never acted in my life. And then now for Monica, because the same team had seen me, they called me for it. And they called me for that role to be a deputy governor. I loved it because it's a power move. Like, you're a boss, babe. So I really enjoyed that. And then, it was it was intense, but I was acting with some of like the greats in the industry, which was amazing, from Raymond Wafula, Brenda, all these different guys. So I enjoyed it.
Would you consider acting more?
Do you know, I was having that conversation today, I think with Foyi and Abel. And I was telling them, I don't know how you guys do it, because it's very intense. Would I act now? Maybe not now. It depends though. If Hollywood wants to call me, I wouldn't say no. But if it's if it's a role, acting is intense. You're on set from 6 to 6. Yeah. Sometimes even midday to midnight and beyond. Just because of that, with young kids, it's the only reason. Maybe not now. Okay. Maybe if my kids get older, I'll do it.
All right. Yeah. I think what I'm getting from that is that don't burn bridges.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah.
Even when I left media, right now I'm doing a short series with Citizen TV and Plan International. Rewrite a story. Yeah. Because you have to maintain relationships. It's not easy. It's hard work, but it's important. Yeah. And you have to be wise. This town is small. You're going to burn bridges and then you'll sit here by yourself. You'll start swimming. But it's not to say you can't kosana with guys. You can. It's life. Yeah. But try not to burn bridges.
Okay, speaking of rewrite her story, tunaendani tukiingia kwa maswali zangu vile nilikuwa tu nimezipanga. Anyway, kwa rewrite her story, the latest edition was about the Morans. Alikuwa na empower wife wake, alimsomesha. And now ilikuwa poa sana. And I was so happy, and I was thinking, what is the role that men can play in promoting menstrual health, even education, knowing about the menstrual cycle? How do you think men can actively take part in this?
You know, that's the most important thing, because men are half of the population, we're the other half. So we can't pretend we don't understand each other's issues. I loved the story of the Morans that we did with Iwadata and Plan International, because it showed a change. We look at these guys sometimes as back in the day, and there's still issues to do with patriarchy. But the fact that now they were telling us, no, by the way, women are now coming up, we have to stand by them. Yeah. And by doing that, more women get empowered, because men are the custodians of the culture. So it's a very big breakthrough. In understanding things like menstrual health, in understanding, see, this life has been titled with the name power as well. It's about by giving power to the women, it's by including the men. Because the men are the ones who, especially in Kenya, it's a patriarchal society. Yeah. They are the ones in the longest time who still tell you what to wear, what to eat, especially in the home, in cultural and traditional settings. And if you begin to empower the woman and strip away all these things that, men have been known to impose in the society, you start to have that balance, right? Because there's no reason why, if a woman is on her period, why is she being told to go and stay uko nje because she's dirty? And it happens today. Yeah. So what are you doing to her? You're making her feel ashamed, embarrassed. She's already indignified. Yeah. But if you talk to the men, and tell them, by the way, this is a very natural thing, and they then begin to invite this woman into the home, you've given her dignity. That's why we need men. In the workplace, if a woman has cramps or a menstrual disorder, some of them have had to quit their jobs or be fired, because for those 2 days you can't leave your bed. Yeah. Imagine if your male boss understands, then they'll say, oh, for those 2 days we need to make sure Janet is comfortable. Let's give her the time she needs. So when men understand, we're able to have equal conversations, and all of us are able to perform equally. That's why it's important. Yeah.
Another point I think is that now this is not on the serious side, and I don't turn some here, is also men understanding that maybe during this time we are kona moods. I'm so sure kuna relationships may break during this period.
See, at relationships alone is a boyfriend, girlfriend, even marriages.
Even marriages.
Not just moods. You know, for some women, PMS, premenstrual disorder, period stress and disorders and mood disorders are so severe that it actually has to be diagnosed. So it's a mental health issue that's affected, that your hormones are affected. And this guy is wondering, for that 1 week, why is she like that? But if he had understood,
it would have been better.
And it's true. I feel you on moods. I get very moody. I get emotional. Do you get emotional and moody?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I get really emotional. Even now, many, many years into my period, 2 days before, I'm an emotional wreck. I'll cry at anything, you know. So, and then also marriages sometimes are affected by things like when a woman has heavy bleeding, maybe because of fibroids.
Yeah.
I know of a woman who told me it affected her relationship with her fiance. He broke up with her because it was excessive bleeding. In fact, this is how she described it to me. She said, we would wake up, there's a time I woke up from bed, and the bed looked like a crime scene. That's how much blood was on the bed.
No.
So he stukad, and here she is, she's sick. Anyway, they broke up. And so when men don't understand, what you've said, by the way, is so important. It may seem small, but if they don't understand, it costs the relationship. It costs the family when all they had to do was try to understand.
Yeah.
And some women don't have that information on their bodies. So she told me she didn't know she had fibroids. So she went and checked. She was diagnosed with fibroids. She was operated. But neither of them knew. So the relationship was affected.
Yeah.
So please, let's talk to each other about it. Or if you're going on a date, if you're shooting your shot with some chick, at some point, ask her about her cycle.
Yeah.
If she's weirded out, tell her it's not weird. Encourage her. It's very sexy, actually.
Yeah, we were actually saying it's such a turn on when a man knows these things.
That's what I'm saying.
Hizo zingine inaleta tu some naivety. For me, naivety is a turn off. So, jijulisheni. Ushambani. Yani tukiongelea menses, you feel like it's disgusting.
Yeah.
You're not the one for me. Adios, muchachos. Anyway, let's read some of the comments in his kapa. Betty Kemei says, hello, Sherry, you look more... Thank you. Mwah, thank you. Na pia mresha hapa pia mnona vila nangara in mustard. Yes. James Mbugua is tuned in. Thank you. Do you have a question, James? Can you also let us know how maybe you've kept yourself educated on this or what you think about periods generally? We have Peter Mso is tuned in. Josh Nash anasema, at this topic could be nice if it could be handled at night for people to open up. Josh, why do we need Giza to speak about periods?
But you know, I'm glad you've mentioned that. This topic is taboo. It's a taboo topic. I know we're in 2021. I know when we talked about it in 2013 on Citizen, it changed everything because we talked about it on 9 p.m. news on a station that's watched in the region.
Yeah.
It helped. It broke open the conversation.
Yeah.
And from that time till now, we've actually seen a bit of progress because it was on primetime news. So let's not... people get uncomfortable. Let's be honest, it's about blood, it's about your reproductive health. Of course, it's uncomfortable. But as I like to say nowadays, let's get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations because they are our day-to-day reality. And people are affected because of this topic.
Yeah.
So by saying... to feature or we have it in another time means you're saying that woman who doesn't have access to pads or that girl means her life isn't important. But it is.
Yeah. True. Betty Keme anasema, unangaka princess. Thank you, Betty. I've really missed you. Thank you. Then Shizo Breeze anasema, I'm in. Thank you. Deno Lemi anasema, hello, hi back. Amos is in. Anasema ako Kitui tuned. Thank you. How are you guys dealing with the situation of menstrual cycle there? Are there things that maybe you guys are doing different? How are you empowering ladies in that region? Weze kutambia pia. Josh alikuwa anasema ingekuwa usiku for people to open up. In fact, anytime, anywhere, if asked about menstrual health, I'd talk about it. Whether kuna giza, ni asubuhi, lunchtime. In fact, I don't know, do you find it disgusting when people are eating and you're talking about menses?
No.
I also don't find it awkward.
Because it's normal.
Yeah.
But so many people do find it disgusting because of the way we've been conditioned to understand it. Yeah, so some people are grossed out by it. they just say, ew, how can you talk about that thing? But it happens.
And it's something that happens
Every
hata we
month.
msupu aje. Hautatoa flowers, petals. So this is something that happens. The earlier that we embrace it, the better.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your foundation, about Inua Dada. I'm so sure many of our audiences here, kuna wale watu wenye, maybe they just know you on the media side, but they don't know about your foundation. So maybe tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, my foundation was inspired by that story we read on the news in 2013. It was called Periods of Shame, and it showed girls using feathers, soil, because they didn't have pads. So the public was so shocked and outraged. I was. As a woman, I thought, okay, I'm here as an anchor. I never have to think twice about picking a pad off the shelf. It disturbed me so much, and the public was disturbed. So I say to myself, what can we do? So my boss gave me the leeway. She said, come up with an initiative. So we came up with Iwadata initiative to help those girls. The first lady got interested and involved. We all went to Marigat and to empower some girls there. When people went home, I still thought about those girls. So I formed Iwadata initially to address menstrual health, to give information and to give sanitary pads. Over the years, our strongest pillar has been this one, the digital platform. Media and advocacy has done so much because we've made these conversations day to day. And I love it when we talk about something and people say, thank you for sharing, I didn't know, or thank you for making us a part of this conversation. That's our greatest joy, is that everyone can feel free and safe to talk about menstrual health. Remembering that menstrual health touches on so many other issues. There's diseases, there's teen pregnancy, there's fibroids and disorders, there's child marriage and FGM. All of them can be linked to the menstrual cycle. So over the years, Iwadata has built on many digital campaigns, and now we're also including the conversation around gender-based violence, because it's also part of period poverty is gender-based violence. So that's what I do. It's at Iwadata across all our social media. We're part of the Generation Equality Forum, end of June. It's a global conference that is taking place in end of June to talk about gender equality and why are we still having these conversations and still having people saying, please don't talk about it during the day. No. I know we have a long way to go. I know it's uncomfortable for some of you, but I always want people to think about their kids, their friends, think about everyone. This is a normal biological process. So let's embrace it. So that's what Iwadata Foundation does. In COVID, we were able to give close to 2,800 care packages to families, and they included sanitary towels.
Good job.
Because for us, we were saying, we'll give food, we'll give all these things, but there's a woman or a girl who will be on her period. Even diapers for babies, because they're expensive. So we work with a lot of partners across the country in different parts of the world. So please support the work we're all doing. There's so many incredible organizations doing their best to educate and empower, and Iwadata is one of them.
Okay. And we also know that you have a book.
Yes.
Yeah. Please tell them about it. Napewa Wambe second edition. Nini to look forward to.
Yeah. So, you know why I wrote this book? I think, like you're creative. That's why you're also in this space. I thought the same thing we're talking about. How do we make people understand periods? And how do we make sure it's comfortable for everyone? So I collected stories from people we know, people we don't know. In this book, we have everybody from like Sharon Mundia, Julie Gishuru, but we also have, and Farhana, like YouTubers, but we also have people who we don't know, but they are, their stories also matter. For example, Tumpesia. Tumpesia is the oldest woman in the book that we feature. She's 76. And so all of them talk about their first interaction with their period.
All right.
We also have men. We have King Kaka, we have my dad, we have a pastor. All of them, it's about what was your first time like, but more than that, what did you learn about yourself and society? What I love about we were going to go on a book tour last year, then COVID happened, so we only made it to Eldoret, but it sold out because I think everybody felt like, oh, fine, parents were telling me, when my daughter asks me, I just give her this book because she'll read a story and something will resonate. So one of them said, Mom, I've seen in the book there's a woman who plays rugby because her daughter is an athlete. So she knows as a girl, even if you're an athlete, it's okay to have your period and take care of it. That's the reason I made a book that's very inclusive. In this book, there's a woman who's blind. We don't think about blind women and their period. In this book, there's a woman who was in prison. She's a former inmate. She was saying in prison they were forced to tear pages from the Bible because they didn't have pads. A woman who has a physical disability is also in this book. She says, all the products in the supermarket, none of them work for me. So we think about everybody should look at this book and see themselves in the book. Whether you're a Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Catholic, whether you are living with albinism, HIV, all those stories are in this book. A girl who has Down syndrome, special needs, how do we handle their period? And then men, how does a pastor talk about it? How does an imam? We have an imam in this book. And so it's like my baby. I call it my third born. Uru Mali, my first time. Because it's a passion project.
Yeah.
It's Iwadata's menstrual health pillar. And it's all about, can we have open, inclusive conversations? And when we're thinking about the policies, can we think about everyone? Not just Sherry and Janet. What about that woman in Langata Women's? What about that woman in whether it's Narok or Maralal? Let's think about everyone. So please, the second edition has just come out. What we've included, stories from Africa, Rwanda, Uganda. Those are the new stories in the second edition. We went beyond Kenya, we went to Africa.
Wow.
Then we also have a piece about COVID and the impact of COVID on menstruators. So keep following My First Time. We'll be announcing the pre-order link very soon. And you know, if you get your pre-order, it means you get a special something. So if you just keep following My First Time and Janet, we'll do the pre-order link there as well.
And I have to congratulate you for making it such an interesting book. You know, some of us, let me speak for my people. Some of us, unaona hivi pages wanasema, "He, mimi nitaanza wapi?" Bookmark, what is that? But it looks so interesting.
Because it's photos and stories. It's people's stories. And I love storytelling.
Yeah.
And so it's a tool to talk about this issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then people can feel, even people like Adele are in the book. So it's through that story, even Idil is Somali, and she talks about from that perspective. So it's just stories to open up the bigger conversation. And the more we do it through stories, the easier it becomes, because it's somebody's story. It's not so academic and school, it's your story.
Yeah.
And everybody's experiences, almost everyone's experience is captured in this book. Maybe not all, and the others will be captured on a podcast that we'll be doing.
In fact, you started the podcast. Ndio nasema yani maswali zangu nasikia vizuri zinaenda zikiingiana. Speaking of the podcast,
yes.
What happened?
Sherry!
What happened?
Surely. It's coming back. We took stock. We were collecting stories. We're about to unleash some very powerful stories. We did a teaser. So the stories are an extension of the book, because you know you can't get every story in the book. We can't get the stories of women who are in KDF, for example, in the army. So the podcast, we are going to be coming back as we launch the second edition. It's also going to be launched with the podcast very soon. Yeah,
and why did you consider podcast of all other media?
Because it's far-reaching. And you know, like, I know community radio is also something that we're very passionate about, because then you can get to guys mashinani or in different areas. But the podcast can get people from across the continent, across the world. It's a platform that is able to get different stories. But again, another reason was this. One of the stories I really wanted to capture was the stories of intersex people. Because that's how they're born. It's not their fault.
Okay.
Yet there's so much stigma. But all of them told us the same thing: don't show my face.
Yes.
So the podcast allows you to give the audio version and protect your vision. That's actually what inspired the podcast. Is I thought, man, there's all these important stories, but these guys don't want to be seen, which you understand because of the stigma.
Yeah.
So that's why we have it. And again, if we continue following My First Time, we'll have all those announcements this week.
Okay, tutakuwa rada na nyinyi. In fact, I also started a podcast, and it's called Stories Hard to Tell. So when I was doing my research kidogo, I noticed that there are some stories which get you in a vulnerable moment, or you're a vulnerable part of people that you wouldn't want people to put a face to it. So hiyo anonymity, mtu ana feel more comfortable, because wezi enda useme, hii ni sauti ya Sheri. Huyu ni Sheri, alikoniwa na boyfriend yake, alibiwa.
But that's a powerful series of stories. I can't wait to listen to them. I think stories are beautiful.
Yeah.
So if you can capture that and people can be vulnerable, that's really powerful.
Yeah. So, and I'm seeing the culture and a podcast, in fact, in Kenya is picking up really good. And I feel like we're on the right track, and we can't wait.
Yeah, thank you. It'll be very, very, very soon.
Yeah, we'll hold you accountable. Ushasema on record. Nancy Odhiambo says, Migori is tuned in. Thank you so much. Joan Kavuti says, we're tuned in. Keep it going. Janet, Lucy Waisiko says, hey, Janet, please tell me more about endometriosis. Most ladies have it and they don't know. Kanyeri says, how can we boys fight for our rights? When and who will support us? Will you? Okay, we'll get on to that. Rose Wangwe anasema 001 Magongo Chinden, asanteni. And yeah, so let's talk about endometriosis because it was the next question actually. There are usually some disorders that come with the menstrual cycle. It's not everybody who has it easy. It's not the same people going for maybe 4 to 7 days. Kuna wengine wanakuanga nazo over and over. There are so many disorders that are around that. Maybe if you tell us a bit about that.
There's so many menstrual disorders. Endometriosis is definitely one of the more known ones. So first of all, if your period goes on for more than 7 days, please check. That's not normal. If your period is very painful, please check. That's not normal because we're used to kuvumilia. So unajikaza, but you're in so much pain. That's not normal. So endometriosis, I actually have it. I was diagnosed in 2005. It's I don't want to get too technical because it's something that, but the lining, wow, we have visitors on a live. Gosh, I feel like saying, who could that be joining the show? But it's okay.
It's okay.
The lining on the uterus is compromised, yeah? So there's a technical medical explanation to endometriosis. If somebody knows or thinks that there's somebody who has endometriosis, please see a gynae. Please see a gynecologist. And in as much as I'm here, we'll check. In as much as we're here talking about my first time, I would like to bring people's attention to a book by Doris Murimi, a Kenyan, and it's called. It's about menstrual disorders only.
Yeah.
Like her book only focuses on menstrual disorders. So I think it's a resource that people need to get because she delves into it again through storytelling. Endometriosis is very painful. If you have excessive bleeding and excessive pain, you could have endometriosis. It can be managed, but it's worse for some than others. Fibroids is another issue. These are all disorders. Adenomyosis. There are so many menstrual disorders. And sometimes, if not checked, if not treated, 2 stories in my book cover menstrual disorders. One is on fibroids, and she says, she's 54 now. She said, I wish I had addressed fibroids in the beginning because I didn't and I let them go on for long, I wasn't able to bear children. That was her result of fibroids. Elsie Wandera talks about her endometriosis journey as well. So the book touches on it. It also has research on it. Please do as much digging as you can on menstrual disorders. They can be debilitating. You can't get out of bed. You can't bear children. There's so many things it compromises. Don't take them lightly. Walk with a gynecologist. Walk with a specialist. Join the several foundations and organizations. Beyond Iwadata, there's, Endo Sisters East Africa. So many organizations that can give first-hand information and they can help you access treatment where possible. So please, you're not alone in this world of menstrual health. There's a lot of champions and advocates who have mobilized. If you even research menstrual organizations, Kenya or global, you'll find a list of them. Join them. Join their conversations, join their networks, learn what they're doing, participate, volunteer, donate. Because we're many and we're trying to do a lot of work, so support us.
Yeah, and I think to both support you and plug you, this month you have been plugging people with some resources, and I think you did about that book, right?
Yes,
on Instagram.
Yeah.
So use this social media to your advantage. She's shared so many resources over this month, I think in celebration of Menstrual Health Day.
Yeah, Menstrual Health and Hygiene Day, which is happening on Friday. I profiled the book on period end of sentence, which won an Oscar, and we work with the PAD Project. They're amazing partners, and their book is really powerful. And then I profiled menstrual disorders, and then I also profiled the menstrual strategy. Kenya, the Ministry of Health website, has a strategy and policy that we all need to download, read, and then have discourse on it. And then finally, my book is the last book that I profiled.
Yeah, good job. Good. You're really doing a good job, and we're really proud of you. So I wanted to at least advocate or tuweze kusikia Kanyiri anasema nini about how can we boys fight for our rights, when and who will support us. So at the moment, we feel like it's time when we empower you to also help ladies. And in return, it's so natural for us to help you. I find like nature too. Sisi Madam, we know so much about you guys as compared to guys knowing about us. So whenever you need any help from any lady, Isikwea is so much of a hassle. I think even for Pulse, we can try and also maybe get you as a guest to tell us what are some of the problems that boy child mnona mnapitia na hatujawasaidia.
Based on that, Sherry, you know, a lot of, over the years, a lot of women organizations are asked, what about the boy child? And one of the things, first of all, you've said something very right. Naturally, as nurturers, we want to care for everyone. When we're speaking about issues for women and girls, we're not saying it to forget the boys. We're saying right now there's a girl who is sitting over a hole in the middle of her village during her period. And we're saying we need to stop those situations. As for boys and men, the reply I always ask them is, what are you doing in your own capacity? Or the same thing you've asked, what issue is affecting boys and men, and how can we collectively come together and support you? But the thing that I think needs to be addressed is, don't fight us when we're trying to empower each other. Because human rights is for everyone, not just for women and girls. Boys and men, this is going to sound, but you know, men sit from a place of privilege. They've never understood a lot of struggles because society was built for men. You know, in the workplace, in education, that's how it was. We can't fight history, we can't fight, but it's patriarchal and it's privilege. So when they see us saying we need more women in boards, because really it's like 3 or 4% of boards are occupied by women, that's a tiny percentage. We're not saying men need to step aside. We're saying as you're considering these roles, consider everyone, not just each other. That's all it is. Because human rights and equality is for everyone. Meaning if there's a man who deserves the job, give him the job. If there's a woman who deserves the job, give her the job. What we're trying to say is, why don't lock us out because you're trying to, you know, promote each other. Promote everyone equally. And so like Sherry said, if there's an issue that is pressing you as a boy, as a man, talk about it. Talk about what support you need. Don't just say, boy child to mesahaulika. It's okay. Like, I'm raising boys. I'm raising 2 beautiful boys. So I think about boys every day. But they also, in turn, need to grow up knowing how to interact with women and girls. You know, so, yeah.
Speaking of your boys, as we wrap up the show, what's the lesson that you would like to teach your boys na wakae nayo for life as they grow up?
Wow, one of the things I talk to them a lot about, even now, even though they're 2.5 and 5.5, is about equality. Meaning, in a simple way to talk to children is, nobody is better than anybody else. We all deserve the same access. So for example, you know, they'll see, they'll wonder how come this person is going home this way and this other person is going home that way. How come this person looked like this? And so the way I explain to them is, people have different levels of access. Not everybody can be like mommy, not everybody can be like so-and-so. It doesn't mean we're better than them. It just means we have more of an advantage. So what I want them to know is, don't grow up looking at people as lesser than you or better than. Look at everybody as, if we all had the same access to opportunity, we could all thrive. And I love that. Okay, Mali is a bit younger, even though he's a very old soul in his heart. Huru is a bit older, so he begins to understand. So he'll ask me questions like, there's a time he saw somebody in a wheelchair. So first he asked me, what's wrong with that person? And I said, oh, they can't walk like us. And then he said, but they can still do things, right? I said, yes, they can. They can still move around. They can still talk to people. So he's starting to get it. It's like, just because they're in a wheelchair, it doesn't limit it limits them somewhat, but it doesn't mean we are better off than them. That's the greatest lesson we can teach our kids, is tolerance and empathy and wisdom. And then in all that, also teach them to stand up for themselves, you know? They're natural fighters, by the way. They're very strong personalities. I'm like, we just have to, even the 2.5-year-olds, he knows how to kujitetea. And I'm like, it's to mold it, not to say, don't do that there. But let's teach them tolerance and empathy and wisdom. That's the survival skill they're going to need in this world. In this post-COVID world, you're going to need empathy. You're going to need wisdom. People have lost their jobs. People have lost everything. Use empathy. Their lives are different. So that's what I try to teach them, is just treat people right, man. Because you know, it's the best thing you can do, and stand up for yourself when you need to. And love. They're very lovely. They're very sweet. So love, be loved. Yeah.
Okay. So you can also plug people with the pages on where to also follow up with the podcast, to follow up with the foundation, how they can also be part of this, how people can support the cause and all that.
So right now with Iwadata, we have a program called Iwadata Voices. It's our latest program where we're mentoring young advocates. Youth, young people. I just put out a call on my social media and I said, if you're a young person who's passionate about speaking up on issues, sign up. So we've been giving them training on digital advocacy, how to use their voice. And so that's something that I would love people to participate in. So very soon, over the next few weeks or months, we'll be doing a call for scaling up the program, and you can join the family that way. It's really about using your time and your passion to speak up. With our My First Time project, we're still participating in menstrual education for communities, and we've also collaborated with Pad Project. We'll soon be rolling out a program that teaches women how to make pads. So they earn money, and in return, girls get pads. So we're really excited to be part of the Pad Project family because it's a global family. And then our advocacy, well, we're constantly online making noise and creating advocacy and awareness. Join us, tag us at Iwadata across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Clubhouse. We have Iwadata rooms on Clubhouse, which will be rolling out soon. TikTok, huku karibuni pia. And then, so please participate. We love to engage the public in our conversations. It's actually what has, I think, allowed us to grow to where we are, is because we do a lot of public engagement. So join us. We'll be having several activities over the year. And so if you follow us, you'll know the activities, you'll know how to plug in. That's how the young people that we have learned about Iwadata Voices. They followed me, they saw me announcing, and now they are part of it. So always look out for Iwadata and official Janet Mbugua on Instagram, official Jane Mbugua on Twitter, and Janet the Journey on Facebook, where we're growing the family as well. I think we've got hundreds of thousands of followers now on Facebook and likes. So just join us, man. We're about to make a lot of noise, a lot of noise. We like making noise. We like making the right noise, and we like having uncomfortable conversations and pushing for policymakers to do more and to ask us to help them do more. Not to sit in their offices figuring out what to do. Call us. We'll help each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've really had a good time interviewing you.
You have a pregnancy glow.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm just looking at you. You're just glowing. All the best in your journey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This will be my first time as a mom.
Yay, there you go.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for today's session. I hope we've been able to change your mind in some things. We hope that you've learnt a few things from this. We hope that also you will take away something to even go and educate somebody else. Inaweza kuwa ni watu wa ushago huko. Wende utaenda wafunze more. Maybe they don't know about us, but you can let them know about Let's Talk and all the discussions we have on this. Thank you for joining us. Till next time, bye-bye.